Okay, good morning, everyone. So it is
Good morning.
10 now.
Yes, it's 10, 11, 10.
Yes. So first of all, thank you very much for making time to join today's session. Okay, it is a lovely Sunday and we appreciate people who join us and spend your weekend with us. So today's topic, we are honored to have Dr. Huzalina with us to talk about decomposing from plant. Okay, so for those who are new and want to know more about Pasarkita is a platform for growers not to sell their products online. So once urban grower on board Pasarkita, we will help them to market their products, fruits, vegetables, herbs, etc. online. And we will provide them with technical support and also guidance to make sure that they are able to start their agriculture business. Help them to market their products. Okay, so in June 2021, this month, Pasarkita has a donation program where we are getting funding from the public to help us to onboard growers. So what do we mean by that? Well, a lot of people get affected by the pandemic. So Pasarkita comes up with an initiative where we get donations and the money that you donate will be used for us to help the unemployed or stay at home or those are retrenched worker. We will provide them with land for them to grow their products, vegetables. We'll provide trainings for them, and also we will give them guidance on how to become an agriculture entrepreneur. When they have their harvest ready, we will help them to sell. So this creates a circular economy where we can help them to get new income for themselves. So without taking much of your time, I will pass the stage to Dr. Huzalina for her sharing session. Doctor, to you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, the moderator. All right. Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone, and the respectful moderator. And I think the fellow friends, either from the Zoom session or even broadcast live YouTube platform. So I'm sure that you will be around. And then first and foremost, of course, I would like to thank Pasarkita because they have been having me as a speaker for today's session. And this actually a continuation talk from previously delivered by Encik Safwan, which is actually the officer from the town planning unit from Majlis Bandaraya Iskandar Puteri MBID. So we are actually a teammate. Okay, we have been teamed up. We've been collaborating together so that let me share what it's supposed to be. Okay. So because we are being in one team, so that it's supposed to be the same aims, vision, in order to make sure that everyone's getting a benefit from agriculture, I mean the urban farming, and also composting. So what I do hope that, pardon me, okay, if I have to mix the language, both language, Bahasa Melayu or Bahasa Inggeris, or English, because this is for everyone's convenience. So I'm not working alone. I have my own team from UTM, and most of us actually collaborating with the Majlis Bandaraya Iskandar Puteri in terms of delivering the technical works. So we do some consultation, advice what need to be done in composting, and then you can see that all of them are my fellow friends And also we're working very close together with the collaborators that providing the boosters, so that it enhance the composting process and also the end product of this composting. So it will be something that we genuinely formulated, because there will be a lot of option for you to actually do the composting. Okay, there is a bokashi where they having the bacteria, acidic bacteria, so that there will be a production of other kind of composting. But towards the end, the final objective is to get a product of composting that can be reused or recycled to the plant. And then there is also a thermophilic bacteria composting. So they've been using a lot of bacteria that works in high temperature, but towards the end, okay, the process will be like ongoing, and then towards the end you're going to have a very complete compost within a week or so. And also that is a third choice, vermicomposting, when you use the worms as the worker to complete and digest the food waste into valuable compost. So those you can actually contact me by email, and I can actually give you the phone number, the contact number, and if you need to have like further advanced hands-on techniques, then we can actually approach the Bandaraya to do so. So what happened is that MPIB normally provide us with the tools, with the equipment, funding, even up to the certificates to the community. But the most important thing is that they've been giving us, engaging to the community to do the composting and everything. So we do have the copyright on our formulations, and this is very cute things that I think trying to actually attract people to do composting. And then our part is actually to have like awareness, driving awareness to everyone over the composting making. So it will not be things that something that you can actually afford to do so. And by right, in doing composting, we need to know which can be done, or do and don'ts of composting. Some of the materials can be composed easily, like fruit. So I've been using plant-based waste is because that we have in nature, okay, by the diversities of people with belief, own principles, own routine of the way of life. There's a vegetarian, Buddhist, and everyone. So by taking the chance of meraihkan perbezaan, okay, of this belief. So we've been using only the plant-based waste. So then we are working in the communities. Definitely, we just focus on the food waste that based on the plant, right? And there will be a lot more here in the image that showing you what kind of materials that can be used in your composting. And we don't really prefer the other like meats or dairy products. We try to avoid that because there will be another version of composting that you can actually do. And then I'm going to address it here. What have actually been done with the advanced technology. I'm not really representing Maiko, but I would recommend you to have a machine or purchase a machine from Maiko that it have a composter with all kind of food waste. Just dump it into the machine, and then it's converted into a composting within 24 hours, which for me is like an advanced techniques. And the idea is that when you do the composting, you wanted to actually alert the people to start recycling those material that supposed not to be dumped into the landfill. We wanted it to be very natural, neutral, environmentalists, especially for the environmentalists. They will think of a way to recycle those materials and compound, especially the organic compound, that once it's converted into things that, the nutrients that can be absorbed by the plants, it will be like more sufficient and efficient, rather than when we are looking for a substitute of chemical fertilizers that probably in long term run, okay, it will actually have an effect on the environment. So the reason why we do this recycling, doing the composting, is that knowing that the worlds have become getting older, and we have a lot of environmental impact or effect because of this long due material that need to be decomposed. Even plastic, it takes like hundreds of years actually, and now we have that awareness to replace it with something that can be degrade in a very short time, okay, by replacing it with some other materials like ada orang guna ubi pun, cellulose ubi, so that it can be naturally degrade by the bacteria. So in our aims, the UTM teams, okay, together the faculty science team, we're looking for kitchen scrap, anything that you provide, and especially in this MCO, during this MCO 3.0, people need to actually stay at home, and most of the time you're going to have more time, okay, cooking yourself, preparing food, and then that would be definitely a bunch of kitchen scrap that I normally, okay, in my case, I'll be just putting it into bottles and then do the process of composting by my own. So because I've been like taking the compost, treating the food waste from our own source, from our own yard, okay, it will actually helps the environment. And then the leftover food, some of it can actually be composed, and then we are trying to actually help the to supply the nutrient to the plant, and then we enhance the condition of the soil. So by right, it's help boosting the health of us, because we have been doing a lot of activities outdoor, okay, and then at the same time there will be an effective microbes that we nurture for the reduction of the composting. And then our aims is to getting a lot of feedback saying that definitely composting will give you this stinky smell, this bad smell, but with our formulation, we're trying to actually reduce this to make the compost odorless. And then as traditional, okay, no matter how, organic compound will somehow will be degrade within 3 or 6 months. Okay, it's just a nature things. But with what we actually implemented, we wanted to be a fast composting based on the shapes, or how the sizes, how the treatment done with the food waste, that it would be giving you a chance to get more fast process of composting within 2 weeks or more or less. And then the main thing is to actually have a public awareness, or to do the recycling, to get reaching the SDS of them. And then why you're doing composting is that, just imagine, maybe like thinking, okay, we don't really need that composting to be done in our own house, in our own backyard, okay, but just imagine that okay, normally daily common things, 0.5 kilogram of kitchen scrap for one household, okay, one unit household. Just imagine when you accumulate 500 units, that would be saving 250 kilograms of kitchen scrap going into the landfill. So it would be another step, then it's contributing somehow into the global warming potential, because one of the things, whatever being degraded, they somehow release carbon dioxide. And then for, I'm going to show you the calculation that to show you that when there is a release of carbon dioxide, okay, it's giving you one times of global warming potential compared to whatever other greenhouse gases that going to release, like methane and hydrofluorocarbon, which normally released in the landfill. Okay, because there will be like dump of the food waste into the landfill, that making the conditions anaerobic, so depletion of oxygen, and then giving chances of natural things, natural bacteria that not really wanted, which actually works without the presence of oxygen, then they're producing a lot of methane, which by calculations, it gives you 25 times to global warming potential. So what I'm going to show you here is that just imagine in daily in daily food waste happen to be 0.5 and then 250 from this 500 units of house, you're going to actually reduce the global warming, reduction of global warming up to 26% reduction, because there is somehow when you there's a production of release of carbon dioxide at your place where you have the plant all over the place, it will be capturing the carbon dioxide compared to methane and others, unless there is a techniques to capture methane for another alternative energy resources, then it would be recommended. But for now, you can see this is actually a simple calculation that giving you why we have actually a benefit or advantage to treat the food waste or the scrap kitchen at our own compound. Right. So there will be some question thrown or raised by people or the public saying then where we have to put all this compost. There is a lot of option choices on the container that you can actually do your composting, either in a small scale household. They simply have a basket or something, a container or basin that have holes around the container, and then we need to have a lid so that we trying to avoid flies from coming to the food waste, and then there will be a lot of maggot later on. So you just have to make sure that these things having the cover on top of that. And for the large scale or the outdoor, okay, this is what we should be like advised. There will be tumbler that can actually spin so that it will be an homogeneous mixture on that. Right, and then this is part of the my Mako composter that I will recommend you to have if let's say you have extra budget for this. This is an in-house. This is an in-house. This is an in-house composter that can actually be purchased and have. All right. Okay, so the techniques that we actually teach or provide to the committees is the composting techniques. It's actually organic fertilizer. Definitely it's a electric NPK standards, because it somehow very dependent on the food waste that we collected. And then all right, and then okay, to start off, actually the kick-off of these things happening in 2015, when I actively involved in doing the composting. So there is a giant corporate that being sponsored together with the alumni in getting to purchase the machine, a composter, and being placed in Sekolah Tun Fatimah. And at the same time, in thinking of the needs to do the composting, we've been doing, I've been doing a lot of talking, okay, and then that's the reason why, that is the kick-off when I start doing composting as one of my aims for the teaching. All right. Okay, sorry for the distraction. Okay, get back again. And then with the approach from the Majlis Bandaraya Istana Puteri, we have a lot of activities coming in. And then it was taken in 2019. So in 2019, we have a lot of activities done with the community. And the first of primary, I can say a pioneer, happened to be in community flat Taman Jaya, where we have been going to the communities, teaching them and at least sharing your experience nearby on how to do composting. And from there, it would be doing more works on the urban farming. Ada banyaklah sebenarnya yang kita dah buat, and the most successful things that happened actually in 2019 September when I been demonstrating how to actually do the composting with the Canary Kangkapulai. And then it's a successful event because after a year, they've been having a lot of achievement. One of that is AKH, and they been demonstrating to the panels that winning the hearts of the panels, part of it having the criteria of doing their own composting. Then all these compost that been completed or made, they simply used as one of the alternative organic boosters to the plant. Okay, and we've been also asking or invited to community gateway Horizon Hills, and then it's been part, I mean, the involvement of the community, it's something that I can say awareness are there, and then we need to actually nurture and get them the right, correct composting process so that they can actually continuous doing it as one of the culture in the community, so that it's expand to all levels of age. So it will be again, we need to have that togetherness, between the MPIB and the institution, the university, together with the communities. Then there's a lot of activities coming in. This is where I actually meet Shirin. There is activity in Jingga Taman Pelangi. You're most welcome because it's 100% organic, nothing to do with the all these chemicals are being avoided from Shirin place. I hope that Shirin is around and seeing that this was taken or place sometimes before the MCO1, okay, PKP1. And then Taman 3, okay. So there's a lot of things that we done. MPRB have been supplying all that the needs, everything that we need, tools and everything, right? And the recent one is actually in Kelab Alami, and sooner that will be in Taman Impian Emas hopefully after the pandemic or the post-pandemic take place. And we do some consultation with the unit landscape, and then all these composting have actually been undergo some analysis. So that will be by right in future, if let's say you were to invite us to be part of the team to more advanced, I mean, to look into the compost, that probably there will be a few techniques that you can actually invention of new techniques. That are most welcome to that one. And then this is what we have in our own garden in TO2, our workplace, a community linked biocompost open laboratory, so that we implement all the composting process took place here, and then we do the urban farming to do some research and analysis. So that's most welcome to our place kalau semuanya the PKP over. So I'm doing some demonstration. What is the most important on the needs to do the composting? It's something that everyone can actually now doing the composting. Even we trying to attract the student, the kindergarten student, or those by having a kit of composting, and then there is a demonstration with a video clip later on that I'm going to show you later. What we need as a main ingredient is a dry leaf. They'll be like seeing maybe as a grass that you just freshly chop, clip. The organic compound, the organic soil and booster that can actually come from us. This is a kit composting for everyone to actually try out. And it's also what we normally do is to grind the food waste. So I normally use the old blender to get all the stuff in a small, so it will be having a bigger size so that the bacteria will actually do the works. And then we have two special boosters known as the 3P and also agrodite that helping to activate the bacteria and reduce the smells from coming. I mean, it reduce the smell. And then we have our own specialist composting bacteria, which some people will know it as EM, efficient microbes, right? And then, yeah, let's see if you can actually enjoy the video clip. So these are things that you need to prepare, the agrodites and things, and normally we grind that plant food waste. And then we need that dry leaf And also you have to dilute only 1 gram of this booster into 1 liter water. And then normally, and we do need to have that container. So this is a small scale. Normally to transfer it into the tumbler, bigger container, I'll do this as one of the starter. So that the whole thing will be a starter to the whole big container. All right. And then you have to homogenize everything. So this is something that technical, but when you follow it step by step, it will be definitely things that you love to do it every day. So make it as a daily routine. And then, yeah, what we normally put as the first layer is the dried chopped grasses or dry things. And I'll tell you why I'll be putting all this. Okay, so that the third layer will be the food waste that we actually grinded. Okay, you have to repeat it until three-thirds of the whole food basket. And then once it's full, then you just have to cover it while you have to spray with the booster, the second booster, which is creepy, to avoid this bad smell, and then try to avoid all these tiny things, flies, whatever. So normally after 48 hours, you can see that you're trying to actually mix them all around together and then put it back to the place where we have hot and dry place it there, because there will be bacteria, thermophilic bacteria that works on it. And then you can see by that after 7 days, it less appearance of this tiny leaf. And then when we have that homogeneous after 2 weeks or less than that, you can actually, the best part is to put your compost, a completed compost, to your plant. Okay, it's between 100 grams to 200 grams based on the sizes of your plant and the place or area. So I have everything in my garden. So it will be a peaceful moment, because when you work from going back to home, then you have this plant with the environment, with all this kind of nature, all right? And then that is for the small scale. So if let's say there is you have a huge place to do the composting, I would advise you to have all this. So we are the human that being the best model for composting. So remember that when we consume food, we need to have the first pre-treatment is you crush everything, and then it just going into your digestion system. So after 6 to 8 I can say hours, then only you're going to take it out from your body. Definitely know how it being done. And then same goes to whatever techniques. The process, technically, you need to have a physical pre-treatment, and then there will be the surface will be bigger, so that you are expecting the bacteria, all this dominant bacteria will actually take place, and then only the product will actually happen to be. So the step of composting, we can say, is a physical pre-treatment. We do have the booster, so all these juices of the enzyme as well in the digestion system, and then we have the bacteria that help to digest your food, and then water to activate, because 70% of the water is actually it's actually construct the whole process, the whole body. Okay, so there were also a raise of question saying, what happened to the compost? How do we spend it? I mean, how do we tackle on this? So whatever compost that that being produced, try to make sure that 1/3 of it you use as a main ingredient for making compost. There will be a lot of bacteria inside this compost, and then you just have to make it as a starter for the next compost. And then another portion, there will be for germination. When you wanted to germinate, you can't actually simply put all this compost and then germinate your seed. It will not going to grow. So you need to have 70% of the cocoa peat and organic soil, additional just to dilute it, okay, and then 30% of the compost, so that you're going to have a very healthy plant later on when it's going to germinate the seeds. And then another leftover compost, you just have to make it a supplement to your plant, and make sure that you have to water your plant no matter how, because this combination can only mix a best production to a good health of the plant. Right, so all these are organic composting that happen to be in my place, at my house. And then if you have time, please scan the QR code so that I can actually get more feedbacks on this, and I can actually put this QR code at Pasarkita so that I'm going to get more feedback saying that you would like to have my the kit composting. Most welcome. Then more on the feedbacks on how we do the talks here. And to our surprise, it's here, there is actually a cucumber at my right side. There is a cucumber. So the harvesting, actual harvesting, normal harvesting, it takes 50 to 70 days to harvest. But with using the composting and the formulation that we actually invented, it took only 35 days to be harvested. So it will cut down the harvesting time. All right. So there is also a technical thing that what happened when, and how do we know that our compost is actually completed? So one of the things, the appearance. There is seven things that the appearance of the compost. You're no longer going to see the kitchen scrap. Okay, it just disappear, and then there will be a homogeneous yellow or dark or brown texture that are uniform. It will be like really a mixture or condition of soil, and then you no longer smell the stinky smell, but it just like soil smell. And then one of the best thing is that when there is no food waste inside, the bacteria will just stop or being depleted, stop working. They're no longer there. It will be like stay dormant. It will be stay not active. Okay, and you will feel that the mixture will have this cool feeling in the cool temperature. Once you touch, you just feel cool. If it still have heat on it, you will feel warm of your compost. Then you probably need to have wait for a longer time. Okay, and the most important thing is that the pH 7. You need to reach that 7 pH 7. Then only you know, okay, this is good for your plant. One of the thing is that is the best pH to absorb phosphorus and kalium or potassium, right? And when we have acidic compost, what we might afraid of is that the absorption will somehow take place on other nutrient which is not sufficient, macam apa, magnesium, aluminium, which is not necessarily to be more than enough. I mean, it need to be only a very small amount of trace. So yang ni I boleh advise lah. This is a pH meter, soil analyzer that they have the pH meter, and then some of the indicator have the temperature so that you can actually check for the temperature of the soil. And then best if you like to I know that it sounded scientifically analysis, but there is also an NPK detector. So you know how much NPK that available in your organic. Not so cool because when you have this NPK, at least you can actually estimate estimate accurately the amount of nutrients that available in your compost. So yang ni pun available in Shopee, no worries. So people are get more awareness over what are the needs of the plant. And then I know that there will be a fluctuate in compost because of the supplier, because of the ingredient. And then there will be a few analysis. So we are very much in love with analysis. So at least you know this is what happened. And for organic compound, the percentage of nitrogen will not exceed 5%. It must be less than 5% compared to kalau what in the industry, in the market, the ratio of the chemical will be like having 8 or 5, 15 and 18, so that the the results, you will see it's fast growing plant and you can actually get fruiting much faster. But with the composting, you somehow cannot expect it lower than that. But there's also, I can actually always share this slide with you so that you know what are the necessary or the minimum concentration of these nutrients. So all these, I rasa you akan jadi bosan kan kalau nak tahu lagi lanjut. But at least you know that all these nutrients either is a major or minor nutrients are very in need for the plant to grow well. Right, so ada perbandingan lah, and there is a calcium. Certain really need trace things, and then for compost, I would like to have like collaboration. If let's say you've been doing composting, give us some of the samples so that we can actually do some analysis just to make sure that the compost that you make is actually safe for the environment without any heavy metals. And then to enhance the nitrogens and also the carbon sources, there will be all kind of carbon sources and nitrogen that available, so you can actually add fruits more up to 35 ratio of carbon and nitrogen. So it gives more carbon sources if you choose to have this ingredient. Right, so remember last time there's a lot of details mentioned by Cik Safwan on the agriculture. So there will be a platform, batas lah sebenarnya, to put in the plant, to actually plant those vegetables and everything. But once because we have all this being going to degrade, so we need to top up with the compost so that the circulation will take place regularly or balanced. So it's not really balanced. I think it's like more as harmonize whatever we have as inorganic. Alright, and then sebenarnya because when we practice all these organic things, it has something to do with the balancing and naturalizing or harmonizing the whole system. Okay, and that's the reason why definitely there will be a lacking of nutrients because it being absorbed by the roots to the plant, and then once it being harvested, there is a lacking of certain nutrients to that dekat tanah tu lah, right? So in order to enhance the soil condition, the to make sure that it's fertilized again, the nutrients, and then to avoid attack from all these what we can say pests. Okay, and by right we were going to actually offer or suggesting you to do some what we call, kalau bahasa Melayu, penggiliran tumbuhan. So you need to actually replace it with another kind of plant. Okay, so this is part of the composting idea. By right, when you have one season having the plant that plant daripada daun lah, family from the Racelia, then you need to actually replace it with the next session, the next planting to do with these nuts version of family. And then the next round, try to actually put in plant daripada yang jenis akar, family apples, because this is how you can actually enhance the soil fertility, alright, by replacing all this. So, and at the same time, there's another option because again, with the organic natural environment, so we have this accompanying plant. So we need to actually plant them so that in terms of surviving, so there will be less attack of this pest because they be attracted to another kind of plant, just like here, and then they have pudina contohnya, we plant together with the broccoli or whatever, because the smell from the pudina ni, the mint, will actually avoid from the attack of the pests or insects, right? And then even the flowers are giving attraction color so that the pest, the insect will not longer attack your other beneficial plant, but it's just like going to the yang ni tai bunga tai ayam kan. So I think that's all from me. So I love to actually hear the feedbacks, any questions from the floor. So give you back to Mr. Fong Yin Mei.
Hi there. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for your detailed explanation. Wow, I've learned a lot about composting and the nutrients. So there's one very popular question, I think, when it comes to
Okay.
composing.
Mhm.
Does it smell bad?
Yep, true, correct. All right, so that is something like things that people fear of to do composting. We don't have that basic knowledge over the composting, so you just simply avoid doing composting. So the reason why we adding that soil, kadang-kadang you boleh guna arang pun so that it will absorb that smell. So you have to cover, just the reason why I'll be like covering it with the soil and also the grasses. The grasses have that saponin, even the fumic acid to help the absorption successfully done. But with the soil, you cover it with the soil, definitely it will absorb that smell. And then those booster that we have actually adding the value to it. So don't worry about it because it's not going to have that smell if you follow the formulation that I mentioned just now.
I see.
Hi, Doc. Okay, there's a questions from this audience, Mr. Edwin here. So, what are the thoughts and opinion about these electric composters?
Electric composter. Oh yeah, the one that showing you just now. Is it the one that mentioned? I tak tahu. Okay, by right, I think what the audience are been asking is that about the electric the electric machine that introduced or being sold by the Myco. What I can see within my experience, based on my own pengalaman, my own experience, it doesn't actually take consume too much of electric punya bills lah. It's just like okay je, maknanya they have its own buffering. Even though you have the electric in-house machine, it doesn't actually raise ataupun buat you punya bill electric jadi tinggi. But the thing is that bila you masuk dump I can see that every single food waste being dumped into the electrical machine ni, it somehow within that 24 hours, the next day dah boleh convert into 24 a complete compost. So I do think that if you have extra budget, go for it. It will be in-house. The smaller that I know, dia ada 1 kilo if I'm not mistaken, even with a basket. And then if you have larger lagi extra budget for 100 kilo, especially those yang dekat pasar, I will advise pasar or also dekat mana. We do have one of the model dekat Hospital Permai. Okay, dekat Hospital Permai being sponsored by the KKM, put at the back of the cafe. So whatever compost yang ada, the food waste, they dump into the machine, 100 liter. They cost 100 something lah, 100,000. But it was, it just it will well done, maintenance. It will just like last for a long time. And then the next day, it will just like convert into compost. And then they been doing the CSR lah by having the compost, they start growing, and then some of the idea rasa dia pun jual juga compost ni. And you can actually sell it 1 kilo for that one, 5 ringgit. It worth of money lah. And then it really helps in managing the solid waste. It's such a good idea. Kalau you ada budget, go for it. And then, but still you have to like have in-house a building that yang you need to store this machine. I love the idea. But for those who we are not thinking landscape ke apa ke, you just do something, the composting based on your budget lah. And then I can always advise over that process.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, just to check with you, do you recommend composting for those staying in apartments or condominium?
Okay, there's also a question last time when I have a talk with the student I said same question juga sebenarnya. What happened is that we have, that's the reason why you have that yang small container yang tunjuk tadi, which you can actually put under the sink sebenarnya. It's just something to do with the scrap kitchen lah. Maknanya scrap kitchen, things that you can make it as a small container. Kalau you nak buat, I'm sure that kalau condominium they have a space for community to meet up kan, but not for the MCO lah. To put your container, one of the thing at your own house, to put a container under your sink pun sebenarnya. You just have to cover, it will not give you any smell. No worries, I'll have my word on that. And then otherwise you can actually have a community persatuan community lah that have all these we collect this waste and put aside, carilah satu tempat yang sesuai to have the tumbler and you just add those in the tumbler. That's the reason why I prefer to have plant-based waste, because of the varieties ataupun belief of each of us. Kalau yang macam with the plant-based waste, it will be you can actually tackle on that part. So there will be two ways of doing composting in area of condominium ke apartment at your own house, ataupun you have another place specific for this kind of food waste composting. Sebenarnya kalau nak buat atau tak nak buat je sebenarnya, because of the awareness. That's all.
Betul tu, the willpower to really participate in composting.
True, correct.
A question from my side, like we are in a year of era, I would say 2021, I would say, right?
Okay.
So compared to any other countries in, I would say, Asian countries, Malaysian will be at home itself. We are still dumping our waste into one basket rather than separate the waste for composting purpose. From your experience, what are the main reasons, the problems that the society and the community tend to dump into all these waste into one bag rather than separate it for composting?
Okay, this is my only my personal opinion. What I can see is the attitude of person. If you have that's the reason why we nurture the kindergarten kids. There is a need of separating all this, and then the family, the parents itself need to actually do. It's starting from home. You need to have again attitude of doing things correctly without any enforcement. One of the things also that contributing to this kind of situation is because there is lacking of enforcement. Senang je, orang tak ada kena fine, so they'll be like, okay, same goes to the SOP for the SOP, you have to stay home untuk PKP. Once you kena fine, baru stay home. So it's something to do with the attitude. If you not environmentalist enough, I think we just simply throw things away in one basket. It's something to do with your attitude, your upbringing, but the enforcement somehow I can see lacking. But with what the motivation and done by the Majlis Bandaraya Iskandar Puteri, the PBT especially, with going to the community, having interaction with them, engaging with the those community and also institution, it helps a lot. You can see that Kenari Kangkapula is the best model. Yeah, you can see a successful one. The SWM even have a program with them, and then from there, I mean, better late than never, right? So they have having the program with the SWM in collecting all the recycles, starting to separate their waste based on the category, and then SWM been collecting, giving the points. So reward and award is something to top up, adding to that what we call encouragement program. So we have to take part in ourselves, I mean take part as personal, individual. You can actually see Malaysian to be, one of the category list country, the worst country, handling this. So we have that in ourselves have to have that priority attitude sebenarnya, and then goes with the enforcement, with the awareness, with everyone need to actually work together. So I think urban farming is one of the best platform lah. Yeah.
So, and just to add another question related to this composting, we see that the local authority, agency, even universities like yourself, the lecturer, giving talks about this composting, more on the, how to say, solving the problems rather than the preventions, right? So, what are the initiatives that I mean, you all been solving the problems, but then the public and the community, well, is there any some sort of like initiative by the local authority giving penalties to all these people who are not doing composting, things like that? You know, but treating it, yes, but then by preventing is, I think, the best way of doing things when it comes to composting, right?
Okay, correct. One good idea. I did deliver talk to the pengangkat, masa tu ada putri tunas pengangkat ke apa tak, Pandu Putri. So something to do with the planning of your waste, meaning you need to plan whatever things that you wanted to cook, and then the leftover food, you don't simply throw it away, you can actually keep it into the freezer ke apa, and then recycle your food rather than this thing. So there will be another method, another awareness on how to plan your food. So you're not making a lot of food waste to the dump because of that. And then you can plan. And then so far I don't really see any enforcement made by the PBT or ever, just to because of the nature of the business, I'm not sure, but SWM been taking part also to create this awareness among the community. So maybe in future, when we have, Pasarkita is one of the platform to give feedbacks to the PBT, probably helping and generating certain program a project just to focus on the composting. I think Dr. Cik Safwan will definitely have something ideal, okay, with the PBT to address this issue lah.
Yeah, I feel that the enforcement is one of the main problem here. But then, one of the areas that penalize giving some sort of like a fee to those people who don't do any composting is one of the areas. Or could be the other way around of people generating business or creating more landfill. I don't know. Right.
Yeah, reverse psychology lah. One of the thing, reverse psychology, adults yang this level, macam kita tak boleh nak nurture them, but we nurturing the youngest lah now, so that from the upbringing, the awareness from the youth, then only you're going to get a better generation, hopefully, in 2 years. Yeah.
Right.
Doctor, there's one more question from the audience.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you mentioned that the landfill gives out the toxic gas like methane due to composting. So if we do home composting, will it produce the same methane gas?
Okay. So alright. Analytically, when you doing the composting, you akan by right you monitor your compost. So there will be by right when you mix everything yang punya compost, there is oxygen in your compost, and then what actually happen is that bacteria that love oxygen will actually produce a lot of carbon dioxide lah, bukannya methane. Methane happen when there is a depletion of oxygen, kurang oxygen. So happen to be in the landfill. Sebab makin lama makin terap, unless the SWM have the initiative to collect the methane and they capture it, make it one of the resources, alternative energy, then it should be fine. I think they have come up this kind of process lah, awareness on that. But in our household, methane production will not going to happen lah sebenarnya, because we've been monitoring our compost, adding the oxygen when you mix them. By right, you putting more air inside your compost. So bacteria yang produce methane ni selalunya anaerobic. So anaerobic will be things that yang very dark side, very close things. And then when you know in our action pula lain pula, because we have been adding the air into the compost so that only the bacteria yang love oxygen produce a lot more carbon dioxide. But you don't have to be worried, because carbon dioxide, once you have plant around your area, they capture this carbon dioxide. And untuk global warming, it's just 1%, 1 times global warming. So it will be not somehow, I can see something yang ridiculous to happen lah sebenarnya, you know, because you'll be monitoring your compost. And then jarang sangat akan hasilkan methane. Unless you be adding methane, bacteria producing methane, then it can happen lah. But it's something that sebab bacteria that may producing methane, dia jenis lain, anaerobic, and then they need to have a close depletion of oxygen. Instead of oxygen, dia tak ada oxygen sebenarnya, because they need to have produce methane with other kind of organic compound.
Thank you, Doctor, for your explanation. So, okay, we are already at 12 o'clock, slightly over 12 o'clock. First of all, thank you, Doctor, for your sharing, and thank you for your time. So I would also like to thank the audience for the feedbacks and also spending 1 hour of your weekend with us. So before we end this session, I would love to ask the public to please share the link that I'm going to share in the chat box, Pasarkita's Launch Good program. So please help us to help more people to get more grower and to help them to kickstart their agriculture business. So that's all from my side. Doctor, is there any other final words from your side?
So from the talks that I actually deliver, I hope that everyone can now compost.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, from my side, if you have a very simplified kind of composting method that you can share later on to Pasarkita, it will be great that we can share to the audience, whereby those who are actually at home trying to learn how to do some basic composting and a simpler method way, that will be a starter kit for them to start with this composting. Because you know, being as a what do you call this, normal house composting, they prefer how to make it more simplified rather than very complex kind of composting method.
Okay, I'll think of it, but that's the only. I mean, when you have I'll try to invent something that, you know, simplify it in future for everyone's interest. Right. Thank you for the idea.
All right, that's it from me.
Thank you. So everybody, thank you for your time, and please stay safe.
All right, have a good weekend. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.